was the last time you actually sat down and had fellowship with your modern conservatives?
At one of his comedy shows, Steve Hofstetter is going to dismantle a talking point many on the left have heard for some time. Watch.
I have friends who are conservative.
I'm very conservative.
Yeah?
I have a gay daughter.
Great.
My best friend is gay.
Okay.
You know.
So, are you every conservative?
But there's more of us out there than you think. Just because.
No, but do you vote?
Yes.
For who?
I voted for Trump.
That's my point. Hold on a second. Wait.
Who I vote for doesn't make me who I am, but you're judging.
Wait. Hold on a second. Hold on. I'm not judging you personally. I am judging some of your decisions, and your decision to vote for a hate-mongering criminal, and to be. Are you proud of your vote for Trump?
Wait, you voted for somebody whom I think is horrible because he was cheating on his wife when she got killed in the car accident.
What?
Didn't catch that one either. Didn't understand it. Besides the point, we proceed.
Hold on a second. Hold on. Wait. Just a moment. Can I answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. So, if I am to understand you, you are upset that Joe Biden has been accused of cheating on his wife, and yet...
He brings it home here because the hypocrisy is endless.
The thing I truly think is that you are most likely socially progressive. However, I think that you, whether it is because you have decided you don't want to look into it too far or because you're listening to someone else, you haven't researched the differences in what some parties are voting for, what some parties believe, and so you associate yourself with conservatives despite many of your viewpoints having nothing to do with them. And so what I am making fun of in this set, and this is your original question, is that. If this is important to you, and it sounds important to you, it's important enough for you to raise your hand in front of 200 people and go, this is the thing I'm going to say, that makes it seem important, then please, after this, look it up. Find out what it means. And then see if it's still important to you. And that's how it works. And that's how we all change. That was the point of the set. The idea that the ideals that we were given to by our parents or the people we grew up with aren't necessarily the ideals that we have to keep for the rest of our lives. And compassion is important. But compassion doesn't mean being compassionate for hate. And that's where I draw the line.
And that last line was a bar. I want to be clear about something. This is a talking point that I have seen and heard out of conservatives for some time, that however you feel about Donald Trump, it's not that I associate with him or that I align with him. I just felt I had to vote for him first.
Every now and then, someone just does show up, especially when I'm in a comedy club instead of a theater or a rock venue, because they're just like, hey, what's there to do today? And if there's one thing we know about that side of the coin, it's that they do not do their own research. So when that happens, I try to be as patient as possible because I try to reach them. Now, if they're being combative, yeah, I'll hit right back.
Sure.
But there's a video that went very, very viral of mine on TikTok. Someone actually, weirdly enough, someone who reshared it got millions of views when mine, because that's how the algorithm works.
100%.
But it's someone asking me about how can I, refer to myself as progressive while being unwilling to talk to the other side of the aisle. And I broke it down very patiently and explained that, I have conservative friends. I don't have MAGA friends. Because conservative is a political and economic ideology. MAGA is a system of ethics. That's different. And so what I did, I was trying to reach this person, but more so, I was trying to give ammo to the other hundreds of people in the room who are going to go home for Thanksgiving and talk to their families.
Yes.
And I look at my social media that way too, is that I'm not going to convince someone that's coming at me swinging, but I would like to try to help give talking points to those who may have relationships with those people, if that makes sense.
That was Steve Hofstetter. joining me on my podcast, The Rick Strom Show, which you all should go sub to discuss these very questions that continually get brought up on one side of the political aisle. New York Magazine's Ed Kilgore wrote, "It's as good a time as any to stop using the word conservative for this band of disruptive revolutionaries. Many of them believe America went crucially wrong not in 2021, when Donald Trump's efforts to overturn his defeat failed, or in 2008, when Barack Obama was elected president of the United States, or even in the 1960s, when America's family values were allegedly challenged, if not destroyed, but instead near the beginning of the 20th century. That's why on the far right, the original devil figures of the left in the MAGA version of history are Woodrow Wilson and Franklin Roosevelt. Franklin Roosevelt, the elitist progressives who seized permanent power for judges, bureaucrats, and globalists in pursuit of values like equality and social justice that were not part of the founders' vision of this country. The thing is, we had a long history of who Donald Trump was, from how he built his businesses, to the amount of bankruptcies that he suffered from, how he was sued for housing discrimination some time ago during a Republican administration, the way that he talked about his employees, according to a former executive at Trump Plaza, the way that he targeted, the exonerated five, put a target on their backs, calling for the death penalty by taking out a full-page ad in the New York Times, the way that he has dined with white supremacists like Nick Fuentes, elevated other voices like Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, attacked the LGBTQ plus community, and has made himself open for business as the President of the United States as long as he personally benefits. It is a sham to say that you had no idea what you were voting for, or you voted for egg prices, because you were able to say, as long as eggs go from $8 to $6.99, I will go along with everything else, including the decay of this country just being expedited in real time. It's something that I don't personally buy, but they did when they cast their ballots. When Trump promised to make America great again, writes Ryan T. Beckwith, many Republican voters thought he meant the 1980s or maybe the 1950s, but it's increasingly clear he intends to take the country further back than that. Looking back, this article remains quite harrowing. Beckwith types, Trump has threatened to jail reporters, editors, and publishers who won't reveal confidential sources, to revoke broadcast licenses for networks whose coverage he disagrees with, and even to investigate journalists for treason. He's attacked the judges in his civil and criminal trials, as well as their families, while saying it should be illegal to criticize judges he favors. He has said he would be a dictator for his first day in office, calling for terminating the Constitution, and refused to concede his loss in 2020, leading to a deadly assault on the Capitol. The new form of attack?
These illegal DEI and DEIA policies also threaten the safety of American men, women, and children across the nation by diminishing the importance of individual merit, aptitude, hard work, and determination when selecting people for jobs and services in key sectors of American society, including all levels of government and the medical, aviation, and law enforcement communities.
DEI unintentionally introduces racism and prejudice where it otherwise did not exist.
The incentive structure, I believe, at Boeing changed to include DEI as a fundamental executive incentive. In my view, it should be purely about passenger safety.
Biden said, first off, he said he's going to hire a black female for vice president, and that he just skipped over. What about white females? What about any other group? When you go down that route, you take mediocrity, and that's what they have right now as a vice president.
So are you suggesting she was a DEI hire?
100%. She was a DEI hire.
And that's why I think this United story and the DEI story hits so hard, because we've all been in the back of a plane when the turbulence hits, or when you're flying through a storm and you're like, I'm so glad I saw the guy with the right stuff and the square jaw get into the cockpit before we took off. And I feel better now thinking about that.
No, I mean, like, you want to go thought crime? Like, I'm sorry. If I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified.
From woke to critical race theory, we have seen the ways that the right will try to use coded language to get their point across. And with that, it has gotten into sports as well. Here is ESPN's Mina Kimes.
I saw this comment, and I wanted to address it because, look, I get called DEI all day, every day, as of like the last year or so. And no, there was no edict from anyone at ESPN to say, oh man, you know what we really need? An Asian female NFL analyst. We gotta just find one. That's what the people are clamoring for. So I was not hired in that way.
Let's pause here. One attacker who sends his legion of minions after Kimes time and time again.
I think she has a right to have this level of confidence. I think she's got ESPN by the balls. I think they're paying her nearly $2 million. She's DEI. She feels like she's got the wind at her back. She's been put in a position she hasn't earned. She's there for DEI.
That guy, Jason Whitlock. And if you were to search his channel, here is what you would see. Non-stop, relentless assaults. And there is a reason for it, even if it is completely out of touch and obtuse from reality. More from Kimes.
But I do think diversity, equity, inclusion, the concept of it, what it represents, applies to my initial hire at ESPN. I was a business journalist and investigative reporter for Fortune magazine, Bloomberg, Business Week, but I also love football. And I wrote a personal essay about football. And the editors at ESPN magazine reached out to me and said, hey, we're trying to think outside the box and expand our scope for the types of people we hire, because we want some different viewpoints and to find talent in different places we hadn't considered. Would you ever consider switching to being a sports writer? That is what diversity, equity, inclusion is all about. It's been twisted into like a slur, frankly. It's been derogative to say people are unqualified, when in fact it's to find people who are actually qualified but haven't been considered or given the opportunities.
Amen to that. Let's all remember they used DEI to attack Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott, who is black, as a diversity hire, despite him being elected, reports Newsweek, with more than 70% of the vote. The attacks on former VP Kamala Harris filled with DEI tirades as well.
Stop it, all right? She's a DEI hire, right? She's a woman. She's colored, therefore she's got to be good.
Florida State Senator Shervin Jones rightfully wrote on Twitter, I guess DEI is the new N-word. Mayor Scott would say, we know what they want to say, but they don't have the courage to say the N-word. And the fact that I don't believe in their untruthful and wrongful ideology, and I am very proud of my heritage and who I am and where I come from, scares them. What this all goes back to, in my view, is history repeating itself. And with that, I present this guy. A political consultant, former chairman of the RNC, the late Lee Atwater. In 1981, he was working for the Reagan team, and in an interview laid out how his party can win voters without sounding racist themselves.
Here's how I would approach that issue as a statistician or a political scientist, or no, as a psychologist, which I'm not, is how abstract you handle the race thing. In other words, you start out, and now y'all aren't quoting me on this. All right, I won't do it. You start out in 1954 by saying, by 1968 you can't say that hurts your backfire, so you say stuff like forced busing, states' rights and all that stuff. And you're getting so abstract now, you're talking about cutting taxes and all of these things you're talking about are totally economic things, and the byproduct of them is blacks get hurt worse than whites. And subconsciously maybe that is part of it. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that if it is getting that abstract and that coded, that we're doing away with the racial problem one way or the other. You follow me? Because obviously sitting around saying we want to cut taxes, we want to cut this, and we want is much more abstract than even the busing thing, and a hell of a lot more abstract than, you know. So any way you look at it, race is coming on the back burner.
And it's catching on. Because all they're trying to do is use certain words to dog whistle and signal to their base or those amongst their base to signal to each other what they really feel, and just using a different term or a different word in its place. From Berkeley, when President Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act, he anticipated that there would be white backlash. The National Party's efforts to promote civil rights at the national level weakened its grip on the South, wrote John A. Powell. Powell adds, Republican strategies began to stoke racial resentment and antipathy to civil rights. For example, Nixon campaign advisor Kevin Phillips and RNC chairman Lee Atwater admitted to appealing to white resentment to civil rights and even white racism. And that is exactly what you are seeing now. They are saying a mainstream conspiracy theorist of being replaced, which was founded, that theory, that conspiracy theory, by literal neo-Nazis. That is mainstream Republicanism at this point. And as Atwater said, the language must be coded. And that's exactly still what is in play today.
So I joined ESPN as a sports writer, something I never thought I would do. And then from there, I went on to pivot into doing analysis, built my career as an analyst, and that's what I do now. So I just wanted to bring that up because, I am a person who's representative of DEI, and honestly, it's a good thing.
Okay, why did you vote for Trump?
Well, I voted for Trump because I didn't really like the whole Biden administration because it presented weakness.
Okay, so what specifically about the Biden-Harris administration presented weakness?
The MAGA caller's answer to this simple question will reveal everything you need to know about the conservative mindset.
Well, just that, they wanted to help everybody they could.
The look on Dean Withers' face says it all. The disregard for our fellow human beings and the wholesale lack of empathy towards others isn't a bug in the MAGA worldview. It's an essential feature that the Republican Party exploits to remain in power.
So you think, okay, are you a Christian?
Yeah.
Did Jesus want to help everybody that he could?
Well, I don't really know if Jesus was actually alive. Can't prove that.
You just said that you were a Christian.
Well, yeah, that's what I align with.
So if you're a Christian, that means that you believe Jesus was alive.
Well, I believe in what I know for a fact.
So then you wouldn't be a Christian.
Then I guess I wouldn't be a Christian.
I'm so sorry. You're just racking my brain.
Want to know something else that they rely on to stay in power? The completely false conflation of Christianity with right-wing politics. Combine that with the attitude of hyper-individualism, along with decades upon decades of purposefully underfunding, defunding, and smearing public schools, then you get the voter base we're seeing now. And the worst part, the billionaire ruling class and the government lackeys on their payroll who do their bidding are the only ones benefiting from setting up our society like they have. It's all about power and control, as this other MAGA caller will outright admit.
Tell me one strong man on the left. There is not one.
Oh my God, you're talking to one, dude. I mean, I'm obviously stronger than you. I mean, you can't even hold your own spine in an argument. What does that tell me?
If you thought that was pathetic, get a load of this.
Look at this. I want you to name one policy ever passed through Congress by anyone ever.
Roe v. Wade. Oops, overturned.
Roe v. Wade actually was not a policy passed through Congress. That was a Supreme Court decision. So I think it makes you incredibly weak because you can't name a single policy ever passed through Congress by anyone ever. This whole act of, trying to engage in political discourse with Dean Withers, meanwhile, you can't name a single policy that's ever been passed through Congress by anyone. And on top of that, you want to insult me, call me a baby and weak and shit.
Facts, reality, and knowledge mean nothing to far too many members of the MAGA base because, again, all they care about when it comes down to it is feeling like their team has the power over the other team, and by their logic, are stronger and thus superior to their political opponents. Look no further than one of the principal merchants of this mindset, the slime ball that is Charlie Kirk.
If, like, Ilhan Omar comes into America and doesn't share our values, doesn't speak our language, and hates America, different call signs, not united, diversity becomes a weakness, not a strength. When you import a lot of people that don't share your values, like we have been from Somalia and from the third world, all of a sudden they say diversity is a strength. Is it really? Is diversity a strength in Minneapolis? Is that really a strength? No. You know what is a strength? The unity we find in being an American, not in being Muslim or in being whatever faction or tribe that you come from.
Kirk and his Turning Point goons were on the ground at Texas A&M University recently, and as you just witnessed, openly made the case for white supremacy by attacking Representative Ilhan Omar and parroting the Nazi-adjacent talking point that certain groups of people somehow destabilize a nation through their mere existence and cultural identity, while dozens of people cheered from the crowd. And this was just the start of it.
Laura, can you tell me what a woman is? Are you a woman? You want to answer a question?
Why are you...
Great, what is a woman?
What is a woman?
Yes.
A person who was born with X chromosomes?
I agree.
Or,
Hey,
or,
I agree. We have won the culture war. We have done it.
Or this is not the win you think
Dean,
it
you
is.
got to train them better.
This
A
is
woman
not the
is a
win you
person
think it is.
with XX chromosomes. I declare a victory in the culture.
Can I please explain what I'm trying to say?
It's just a show for these clowns, all at the expense of the dignity of marginalized groups of people.
Listen, that is not to exclude trans women.
Got it.
There's a reason Charlie Kirk chooses to debate random college students instead of media professionals and trained debaters, and it's not just because they would generate a lot fewer opportunities for clicks from clips like this. Kirk and his team know deep down that they can't punch above their weight class, which brings us right back to Dean Withers. Hey guys, quick break in the action. I have a new show coming out called The Rick Strom Show. It is going to be awesome. I'm interviewing musicians, athletes, producers, writers, journalists, authors, sports doctors. Go check it out at youtube.com/@TheRickStromShow. Also be sure to throw me a follow on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky. It can all be found in the description box below. Thank you.
It's a very move on your part to keep avoiding Dean.
Then debate me.
People like
Let
you.
me on the mic. Let me on the mic.
Get Dean on the mic. That's the whole reason I came up here. It's a move for you to keep avoiding him.
This was Dean's whole plan. I'm going to bring these people here. Woo!
We've been told by every single one of Kirk's staffers that he doesn't want to talk to us. Yeah, I have some disagreeing questions. Do you think I could ask him?
Well, that's something you're going to have to talk to somebody else about.
The reason we weren't let in line is because we don't go to college. But apparently neither does a guy on the mic.
Hey, Charlie, Dean's here.
Oh, okay.
Come on.
You have a permit?
We should talk. Trying to talk to Charlie Kirk, but it's not working. Do you think me and Kirk should have a conversation?
100%.
You got to get me up there, man.
You may be purposely ignoring you.
This is proving to be very difficult.
I think that we are in the free marketplace of ideas. Anyone should be able to come up here and challenge and debate you. If you're really for that, as you say you would allow someone to come up here and debate you on that.
When presented with the perfect opportunity to flex his propaganda muscles in front of a way too friendly crowd, Kirk balked at the opportunity and refused to even entertain the idea of letting Withers on the microphone. It should be said that we expect nothing less from Charlie Kirk, because he cares far more about feeding his own ego and doing the bidding of his ultra-conservative donors than anything that resembles a free exchange of ideas and having a fair and honest dialogue. If you can and are willing, please become a paid member here at TYT Sports. And or go to tyt.com/join. In addition, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Appreciate it. Have a great day.